Well, hey there. Welcome to the Kim Constable Podcast. I was actually just realising that I used to say, nobody cares, work harder, but I haven't recorded the podcast in so long that I forgot I had a wee catchphrase, so let's start that again. Hey there, welcome to the Kim Constable Podcast. Nobody cares, work harder. So there you are. That's always my little motto, or always was my motto, for those of you who haven't listened to the podcast in the past or who are new to the podcast. So if you are new to the podcast, welcome to the Kim Constable Podcast. I am sitting here in my office early in the morning, which is when I am my most creative. And I just thought I would come to the office and get ahead of the podcast over the next couple of weeks because OMG, we have some busy times coming up in the Sculpted Vegan. So before we get into this week's content, let me just give you a couple of short pointers or housekeeping notes, I guess, as to what's coming up for those of you who are interested. This won't take very long, I promise. Please do not skip on. So we have the 5-day fitness, motivation and mindset challenge, which is launching. We're opening it, I think, August 28th. And August 28th, 2023, so don't know when you're listening to this, but if it's after that, sorry, you missed it. And it starts September 4th, so this is the most incredible challenge that we have ever launched. We're bringing together everything to do with fitness, with motivation, mindset, achieving your goals. This is for those of you who have 20 pounds or more to lose, but of course everybody is welcome and the strategies apply to everybody. But this is for those of you who have maybe completed or tried to complete one of our shred programs, or who are serial dieters, or who lose the body fat and then put it all back on again, or who just can't seem to get there and achieve your goal. I'm going to help you figure out why. I'm going to help you figure out your why not. I'm going to help you figure out a plan to move forward. You're going to have incredible awarenesses about your strategies and how you hold yourself back. And you're finally going to be able to get out of your own way and achieve those things that you always wanted to achieve. And you think this podcast is good? You think you get perceptual shifts from listening to the podcast? Well, you are going to love what I have in store for you in the 5-day challenge. So make sure that you are on our mailing list. All you have to do to be on our mailing list is go to our website and download any of our free programs, sign up for something, and you'll be on our mailing list, and we're going to send out details there. And also, if you follow me on Instagram, I'll be announcing it there, and also, of course, I'll be announcing it here on the podcast. There'll be loads of places where you can sign up for the challenge. It will be completely free, nothing to pay at all. I'm going to be going live twice a day, once at midday UK time and once at 4 p.m. UK time. There will be replays for everything if you can't make it live. And I'm going to be literally holding your hand the entire week so that you can finally achieve your fitness goals, because your success is my success and we're all in this together, and I cannot wait to really help you along with this next stage of your journey. And so that is something very exciting. The second very exciting piece of news is that we have a brand new 4-week shredded body competition. It is opening, I think, on the 8th of September, right after the challenge. It's going to be starting September 18th. It's only going to be for 4 weeks. And this challenge is for, again, any of you, the 90% of you who have purchased programs from me in the past, who have never actually managed to finish a program or achieve your goals. We're actually capping this program at 2,000 members. And I know you're like, 2,000? That's massive. But we would actually sell about 5,000 programs in every single shred competition that we do. So we're capping it at 2,000. We're only letting in less than half. And that's because of the level of coaching that we're offering in this program. We couldn't possibly do it if there were more than 2,000 people. So in this program, there's going to be coaching 5 days a week, once with Mark Getty, once with Laura Hutchinson, once with Dr. Rachel, once with Vanessa Burgess, and once with me in small group Zoom coaching sessions. Everybody gets all the coaching. We have meal plans for regular vegan, non-vegan, soy-free and gluten-free vegan. Which are the first time ever non-vegan meal plans available. Mark Getty is also going to coach a breakout group of non-vegans. For those of you who are not vegan and you've always struggled with our programs, then he is going to do a breakout Zoom call every single week, especially for you guys. We have workout plans for gym, for home gym, body weight programs. We have workout programs for those of you who can't squat or have knee issues. We have thought of every single possible reason why you have failed or could fail on a fitness program, and we have covered every single possible reason so that you cannot fail. And we're also going to give away, wait for this, $10,000 a week to the person who makes the biggest transformation in 7 days. Again, I recognize that one of the reasons why people fail to complete our programs is because they just can't get to the finish line. So imagine if every single week you had the chance to win $10,000 $10,000 during the program, and then we're going to give another 10,000 to the person who has made the biggest transformation at the end of the 4 weeks. So it's short, it's sharp, it's intense. You get someone holding your hand the whole way, and that, by the way, there's so much more than that. There's checklists for everything. There's one-click shopping lists. There's wall planners that you put on your wall where you check off every single day your cardio, that you've done, your meal planning, your training. We literally are not going to let you fail. And then to top it all off, we're going to give over $10,000 in bonuses free to every single person who purchases the program. I am not even kidding. That's how much the bonuses cost. And you'll see whenever we release it what the bonuses are. $10,000 worth of bonuses with an absolutely fail-proof guarantee as well. If you at any time during the program or after the program ends feel that you did not get the value that we promised, then all you have to do is write to us. We will give you a no questions asked refund. And here's the clinker. I personally will coach you for another 4 weeks after the program ends. So I'm going to give you your money back, and I'm going to coach you myself for 4 weeks after the program ends. That is how strong the guarantee is with this program, because I know that if you show up and you do it the way we tell you to do it, you cannot fail. So because I can't make you eat the food or do the exercises, I can't tie it to the amount of weight that you'll lose, but I can tie it to how valuable you believe the program was. So that is launching, opening September 8th. I just wanted to give you some advance notice of it launching so you can clear your calendar or you can make plans if it's something that you do intend to join in with. And remember, we only have 2,000 spaces available. So if you miss out this time, you'll have to wait for the next time if we run it again, which I'm sure we probably will. But I just wanted to give you advance notice of that is what is coming up in the Sculpted Vegan before we get into the content today. So let's get started in what we are going to talk about today. What are we going to talk about? Well, this episode is called Know Your Why, and it was actually just inspired by something that happened this morning. I was lying in bed with Ryan, drinking my coffee, flicking through Instagram as I do, and a graphic came up on my Instagram, and I kind of flicked through it or whatever. It was from one of these success mindset accounts that I follow, and it said something like there was a little picture came up, and it said how to achieve, a goal or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. I went back to try and find it, but I couldn't find it. But the 3 things that it said was, and this really resonated with me, it said, decide what you want, work out the price you'll have to pay to have it, and then decide if it's worth it. And I was like, oh, that is so true, because, one of the things, especially whenever I'm working as hard as I'm working at the minute in the company, one of the things that you realize is that there's a price to pay for everything. There is a price to pay for everything. And I'm working so bloody hard at the minute, and I'm not finishing work until 9 p.m. each evening. And I was in the office this morning for 6:30 a.m. And it's just go, 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 go. And I'm still managing to fit in training in the gym every day. I'm still managing to fit in training my horses. I just arrived to the yard. I jump on the horse that's already warmed up, and then I do my session, and then I leave the yard again. And I'm still trying to fit in time with my family. But it's just insane. The amount of sacrifice that I'm making is insane. Like, I was going to try and meet a friend for coffee the other day, and we had planned it 2 weeks in advance. I haven't seen her in about a year, and she's one of my best friends, and she has 2 young children now. So it's actually, she's younger than me, but it's harder for me to, it's harder for her to see me now because she obviously has the kids or whatever. And we'd arranged coffee 2 weeks in advance. And whenever I was looking at my calendar on Sunday night for the week ahead, I realized that I didn't have time to meet her on the Tuesday morning. I mean, I could have made the time, but I would have had to sacrifice something else. And at the minute, I just can't sacrifice work for friends because there's just so much that needs done. And because we're on a deadline with work, I can't even push it off and say, oh, it's fine, I'll do that again. So there's something really magical that happens about having a deadline as well. That's why our shred competitions are so effective. It's why a bikini competition is so effective, or launching a program in your business and setting a deadline for it. Because when there's a deadline, it forces you to work. But anyway, so I'm really thinking at the minute of the sacrifices that I'm having to make and the time that I'm having to spend, not having to, wanting to, choosing to spend in the business and in the gym. And I'm really trying to build some muscle that I've lost over the last while. I've actually lost, I got like a body composition analysis done with my blood work there recently. And in the last 3 years, I've actually lost over 6 pounds of muscle, 6.6 pounds of muscle. Like, it's a huge amount of muscle. Now, I don't mind. I try not to mind. I actually prefer my shape now. I'm definitely leaner. I'm not as bulky, but there is a part of me is like, I worked so hard for that muscle and I really loved my muscular body. And I am still muscular. I'm just not as muscular as I was, but I am trying to build some of it back again, or just really push hard in the gym. I'm feeling super motivated at the minute, but I am making big sacrifices in terms of my friendships and my family and my time with my family in order to have that. And sometimes I do ask myself, is it all worth it? I really do. I am building for something for the future, but I definitely don't want to miss out on what's happening in the moment. Although I do think that I have a really good balance actually of life. I find I definitely prioritize the things that are important to me and my family, and I do make sacrifices in other areas, but my life definitely swings and roundabouts. Sometimes I'm super, super busy and really motivated, and then I have a period of rest and downtime. And like when I say period, I mean several months, and then it goes into super drive mode again, and then I have a period of rest again. So I'm definitely in super drive, super busy mode at the minute, but I am very, very aware of the sacrifices that I am making to have that. So but let's, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? No, only joking. That was one of the best quotes from Beaches, wasn't it? Did you ever see Beaches with Bette Midler? And she was like, oh, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think of me? I do sometimes feel like this podcast is all about me. Although, in fairness, it is called the Kim Constable Podcast. So, like, if you're going to be narcissistic about it, then call the podcast after yourself, after your own name. So know your why, decide what you want, work out the price you'll have to pay to have it, and decide if it's worth it. So let's dive into this and what this means for you and in your life. So let me tell you a story to start. I remember years ago, and I mean years ago, like this would have been 2016. And I was a yoga teacher at the time. I was running my yoga detox workshops. So I created these workshops. Again, I just saw a need in the market. I realized that there was a huge amount of people who would have loved to have done yoga, or weren't doing yoga and could do yoga, but they weren't choosing it for a reason, right? They didn't have a specific reason to do yoga. And so rather than just try to get people into yoga to be more bendy or more flexible, or, connect with your breath and have a better life and all that kind of stuff, which is really just selling prevention rather than cure. People never buy prevention, they only buy cure. So if you're in business, just remember that no one buys prevention. No one buys something that might happen to them in the future. So I've got an itchy face and I had to scratch it. So no one buys prevention, people only buy cure. And so I realized that bloating was a massive problem that a lot of women had. And so I created these yoga detox workshops twice a month. They became wildly popular. I did advertise them on Facebook, of course, to bring people into it. And so we used to sell about 60 spaces a month, and I ran 2 of them a month. So we had 120 people a month coming through these workshops. And it was phenomenally successful at the time. Like I was making about $4,000 a month in gross profit from them. And I thought I was lit. Like I thought I was making so much money, but I used all of that money to build the Sculpted Vegan. And so, but this one particular day, it was after Christmas, it was January. And the reason why I'm telling you about the yoga detox workshops is because I was in reasonably good shape, because I'd been teaching yoga and practicing yoga for several years. I think I started Ashtanga yoga as my primary form of yoga in 2010. No, Maya, what age is Maya now? Maya's 13. She was a baby when I started, so, but she was only about 1 or 2 whenever I started. 1 maybe, and so about 12 years ago. So whenever that was, this is 2023. So 2011 is when still not got it. I see whenever I'm doing this podcast and I am like trying to think, I'm like, 23 minus 11, what's that? 2012. Like I literally just cannot get my brain to function. But normally my brain is really good with numbers. But see, whenever I'm recording and I'm thinking, I just cannot think with numbers at all. But anyway, she's 13 now. She was about 1 whenever I started. So 12 years ago, I started Ashtanga yoga. And so I was in reasonably good shape and I was practicing every single day and I got really, really good at it. And I was in good yoga shape, as in like I had long, lean limbs, but I still had a mum tum. And when I say, like, I didn't have a big pouch, I never had a pouch or a pooch or whatever they call it in America, never had one of those, but I definitely still had fat on my stomach that I really just couldn't get rid of. And I tried for years, but how I'd tried to get rid of this fat in my stomach for years was just through dieting. Diet and yoga. I really just did not understand how important it is to strength train, to build muscle in your body, to raise your metabolism, to be able to shred body fat. And just as a little caveat or a side note, for those of you who are struggling with losing body fat, you're like, I just can't get rid of the cellulite in my thighs, I just can't get rid of the fat in my butt, I just can't get rid of my mum tum, it's because you don't have enough muscle. That's the honest to God's truth. I've seen it now from coaching over 500,000 women since 2017. The reason why women cannot get down to or shred off that last of the body fat that they want is they don't have enough muscle. You need muscle, a significant amount of muscle, to raise your metabolism, to allow your body to go where it needs to go to shred off the last of that body fat. And also you really need to be persistent. Like I had to do let me see, 4 bodybuilding shows in order for me to get the fat off my stomach. In the first 2 shows that I did, even though I trained really hard and I had loads of muscle and I dieted really, really hard, I still didn't have a completely flat stomach. I still had, if you grabbed around my belly button, you could grab like a couple of inches of flesh, like you could pull it. It wasn't just skin, there was fat under there, and it really frustrated me that I couldn't get rid of it. I didn't even get rid of it fully the next year that I competed, and I competed 3 times the next year. It took me until 2019 to get rid of it, and I would say it didn't actually go really until 2020. So I would say it took me a good 4 years of training and competing as a competitive bodybuilder to actually get what I would call a properly flat stomach, like where under the skin there was no fat. And it took me 4 years. So truly, if you want to lose that body fat that you really just think you can't lose, it is because you don't have enough muscle. So in 2000, let me go back to the story. In 2016, I am sitting, or 2015, I think it was, whatever, 15, 16, doesn't really matter. I'm sitting at my desk. I'd been running these yoga detox workshops. And so I had been really trying to figure out a way that I was going to make more money online. I created a de-yoga talks program. I used to sell it at the end of the workshops at a discount. And I was building my Instagram account. Instagram, I wasn't new then, but it was fairly new, only a couple of years old. It wasn't as big as it is now. Instagram's completely saturated now. It's virtually impossible to grow a following organically on Instagram unless you go viral. But in the beginning, people were really only starting to become, successful online. The masses hadn't entered the market yet, even in 2015. But I was working away at my desk, and I did have my niece at the time come in and do some, babysitting for me. Because the kids were all quite young, and I would have paid her to come in and look after the kids for a few hours while I worked. So I was sitting in my office, which actually is now our coffee room. It was just off the kitchen, but it was just we have a very old house, and it has like a pantry and a butler's pantry and an old larder, all in and around the kitchen. And I'd converted the old larder, which is a cold storage area where before they had fridges and things, where they used to store like cold meats and cheeses and that kind of stuff years ago, 100 years ago, whenever our house was built. And I was sitting in there in my office at my desk, and it was January. It was, I think, about 4:30 p.m. Ryan was actually, I think, away this particular night. He was away on business. So Amy was there looking after the kids. I was sitting in my office. It was January. It was cold outside. It was dark. It was windy. It was that period after Christmas where it's kind of a bit depressing. I mean, it wasn't really even that long after Christmas. I think it was early January. And I'm sitting there and I'm white and I'm hairy. You know that one where you just like, your body has not seen the sunlight in months and months and months. And, you've no reason to put any tan on, and you haven't seen any sun. And, my hair, I think, probably needed colored. And I just was feeling, I don't think I was even feeling anything actually until what happened. But I was sitting there working away. I was just about to finish work. I'd been doing my Facebook ads and things for my yoga workshops, and I was just about to finish work. I could hear the kids playing with Amy in the kitchen. And just before I finished, thought I'll just take a scroll through Facebook. So I opened Facebook on my computer, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, and into my news feed comes a picture of an absolutely beautiful fitness model. And it was Emily Skye. And it's funny, Emily and I are friends now, actually. And I've loads of you have heard me talk about, my early discovery of Emily Skye, and then how that spiraled into, looking at fitness models. And I guess it wasn't something I'd ever really paid attention to. I knew that, there were bikini shows and that kind of stuff online. Like certainly a few years ago, years previously, my sister was going to do a bikini competition because she'd been training in the gym a lot, and she's very, very naturally in bikini competition shape. she'd gotten all the way into her diet for the competition, and then she just decided it was too hard and she didn't want to do it. So she backed out. She'd already bought her bikini and all her supplements and her plan and all this kind of stuff. And so, and it's always something that had fascinated me, like just muscular bodies and bikini competitions, but it just seemed so far away from where I was. You know, I always thought, God, I would love to stand on stage, but like, how the hell, you know, like it just seems like a massive mountain to climb, which of course it does whenever you have no data at all whatsoever. And so I always had harbored this secret dream of really wanting to do it. And whenever my sister Carrie started, you know, building a lot of muscle, and I noticed her quads were getting huge, and I was like, oh my God, she just looks amazing. But I'd never actually done it. And so definitely fitness models and that kind of stuff definitely wasn't as mainstream as it is now. Like it's completely normal to flick through your Instagram or your Facebook or whatever and see, you know, really fit bodies and fitness models. They're a dime a dozen now. Everybody's an influencer and a fitness model online, but it wasn't that way in 2015 at all. So anyway, I'm flicking through Facebook, and Emily Skye appears in my newsfeed, and it really looked like the photograph had been professionally taken, but I now know that it actually wasn't professionally taken. Emily takes all of her own photos. She has a really good camera setup, and she has some good lighting, you know, natural lighting. She lives in Australia, so there's a lot of natural light. And she, you know, just poses and takes her own photos. And I remember one of her photos came up, and I just was like, oh my God, I just looked at her body. And Emily is not overly muscular at all, but you could tell she was fit. You could tell that her legs were muscular, that her, you know, her shoulders were muscular. You could tell that she trained in the gym. And as I looked at her, I was like, oh wow, she looks fucking gorgeous. Like absolutely amazing. It wasn't even her face. It wasn't, you know, that I was attracted to or that I loved. It was her body. And of course, then I clicked on her page and I started looking through, you know, all of her stuff. And Emily has at the time she had like 10 million followers, I think, on Facebook. I'm not sure how many she has now, but she definitely did have a big Facebook following. I'm sure she has a lot more than that now. And I started looking through all of her pictures, and as I scrolled them, I just like, it's almost like, the only way I can describe it is my excitement started to build. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh wow, oh my God, oh my God. She, you know, every pose, she just looked beautiful. And I had this really strong desire inside of me, like really, really, really strong desire of, I want to look like this. But I also had this epiphany moment, which is just as a little side note, which helped me to build a business. I had this epiphany that I've always watched my own process, because how I feel about things is usually how my customers will feel about things. And so as I was scrolling through and I realized how inspiring these pictures were to me, I realized, oh my God, this must be how other people feel whenever they see beautifully lit photos and beautifully lit bodies. You know, visually they're stimulated. So it doesn't really matter what you say. Like they always say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, which it absolutely is, because we're visually stimulated learners as human beings. And so I had this epiphany that, oh my God, imagine if I had pictures like this, imagine if I had a body like this, imagine how much more successful I could be, or how much I could motivate people, because they would see my photos and they would feel the same way about me as I do about Emily Skye. Now, I wasn't training in the gym at the time, I was a yoga teacher, but I had this recognition that if I could do absolutely stunning pictures, then I could sell more programs. And so I was like super, super motivated. Anyway, I noticed that Emily had a program, and it was a 3-phase program. And I immediately downloaded and purchased her program. And it was super cheap. It was like, you could get each phase for like $49. You could get all 3 phases for $79 or something. So I was like, $79, that's a steal. So I bought all 3 phases. The first one was like a general overall body. The second one was, you know, focusing on glutes and hamstrings. And the third one, I think, was focusing on upper body. So I bought this program, and did I do anything about it? No, absolutely nothing. I put the program away and thought, oh yes, I'll start that tomorrow. But I was super, super, super inspired by her photos. So what is the point that I'm making here? Well, my point is that if you want to be successful, or you want to change your body, or you want to start a business, or you want to do something worthwhile, and you have this want inside of you, you have to find your spark. You have to find the thing that ignites you. Now, I wasn't looking for Emily Skye that day. It just happened to come upon me. So you could say, well, Kim, you weren't actually looking for her. You weren't looking for that inspiration. You didn't even know you needed it. You're right. I didn't know I needed it. But the thing about it was all of the choices that I had made up to that point had put me in the position where I was scrolling Facebook. And what I mean by that is I had been working since 2011 trying to build an online business or trying to figure out how I could make money online. So I had really pushed myself into the online world, if you like. So I had been, like I've talked about this in previous podcasts, just diving deep into the world of online marketing. And I'd started a couple of businesses that had failed online. I just hadn't, to be honest, and the reason they failed wasn't because they were shit ideas. It's because I didn't have the marketing. Well, they probably were shit ideas too, but I actually just didn't have the marketing know-how. I just built the websites and built the programs and then hoped that once they were built that people would buy them. But, it doesn't matter how good your program or your product or your service is. If you can't figure out a way to market it, no one is going to buy it. No one is going to know about it. No business grows organically, and very, very few businesses grow because they go viral. And even if they do go viral, you have to figure out a way to sustain that attention, because whenever a business goes viral, it happened to my sister in Babu Kush. She developed this chair, this baby chair, this Babu Kush baby chair where the baby lies on its stomach and it simulates the mother's shoulder. It's for babies specifically with colic and reflux. She developed this baby chair, and Ashton Kutcher posted it on his page not long after she launched, and her company went viral around the world. It literally exploded with growth, and she did 3 million in business in her first year, 3 million in gross profit in her first year. But the problem was she didn't know, because she hadn't built the sales mechanism to sell it, she didn't know how to sustain that after the first year. And it was actually extremely stressful for her, because it wasn't like she'd built a sales mechanism that she could repeat over and over again. She'd gone viral. And a lot of people are like, oh, I would love for my business to go viral. Let me tell you, your business going viral in the very beginning is actually the worst thing that can ever happen to it, because it would be different if my business went viral now, because I would know how to cope with the demand, and I would know how to harness the attention and utilize it, because I've been a long time in business now. But if that had happened in the very beginning, a lot of people wish that they could go viral, but really it's just like, it's the same as wishing that you could be absolutely ripped and stand on stage without putting in any effort. People just aren't, they want what they haven't earned, really. Or they don't want what they haven't earned. Well, they do, but they want things to be easy. People just want things to be easy. But let me tell you, if you get what you wish for, it really can sometimes not be as easy as you think. And so I had been, now let me try and go, I'm going off on so many tangents today. Let me try and go back to my story. So the point is, you have to search for the thing that will ignite your spark. I had put myself in the position where I was trying to build a business, and I, got my niece in to help me look after the kids, and I was in the position where I was searching. I was searching. I was always searching for the thing. I was searching for the idea. I was searching for the way I could sell more programs. I was searching for all of these things. And that search is what put me in the position where I was sitting in, my office, scrolling through Facebook, and I saw Emily Skye. So you have to find the thing that ignites your spark. You're not specifically, well, I am going to suggest actually at the end of this podcast that you do, if you're relating this to fitness, that you do look for the thing or the person or the photograph or the show or whatever that will ignite your spark. But you have to actively go looking for it. You won't know what it is. You won't know what it is until you go looking. But if you just commit to looking, if you commit to constantly searching and scrolling and watching and asking, and you set your sights on it. You set your sights on finding the thing that's going to ignite you. That is really the first step towards getting what you want, towards having what you want. And that could, a lot of people say to me about how did I come up with the idea for the Sculpted Vegan? Well, I just stumbled upon it because I had decided, which is I'm going to talk about next, I decided to do a fitness competition. And I just then, whenever I was searching for a program that I could do, that someone had already created, that would save me having to do the work of standing on stage as a vegan bikini athlete, it didn't exist. And so because I realized it didn't exist, I decided to create it. But again, it wasn't something I was looking for. It's something I stumbled upon because of my search. And so that's the point that I'm making with this. You have to find the thing that will ignite your spark, because that really is the thing that pushes you in the direction that you want to go. And so the funny thing happened after this is that this particular day, once I had seen that, I suddenly thought to myself, do you know what? I'm in pretty good shape, right? Because I really did think that I was in good shape. And by all intents and purposes and by other people's standards, I probably was in really good shape. Like, there's a lot of people who look at my early photos and they say, Kim, if I looked like your before photo now, I would be absolutely delighted, right? So I was in good shape, but I wasn't in the shape that I'm in now, which is like, that girl has worked out for years. Like, she has built a cracking body, you know, but I definitely wasn't there. But so I was so excited, right? I was so excited by finding this picture, and I realized, oh my God, you know what? I need to do something about this hairy white body. Seeing Emily Skye looking so beautiful and so glowing and so dewy and so tanned just made me look at myself and see my own inadequacies. And that was super motivating for me. So anyway, I thought, can I take some photos like this now, right? So here's what happened. So I left the office and I said to my niece Amy, I was like, here, can you take some photos with me? Now this was like 10 years ago. So iPhones weren't as, you know, or 8 years ago, iPhones weren't as advanced they are now in terms of, you know, photographic quality. So I went and I got my husband's really good camera. And I said to Amy, my niece, I said, can you take some photos of me? And she was like, yeah, sure. So I ran upstairs. Okay. And my hair had been in a ponytail all day, but I took my hair out of the ponytail and I kind of, you know, shook it a bit, and it looked a bit random, but I was like, oh, that's fine, don't worry. And so I put on my skimpiest pair of Bikram yoga shorts and my tiniest little workout bra, sports bra that I had. Now at the time I didn't have a boob job or anything, so I had, you know, my boobs were like breastfed 4 children, golf balls and a pair of socks, you know, like literally, I used to say they're like 2 well-scratched hives. Like, I literally had nipples on top of skin. That was it. And I, anyway, came downstairs dressed in this outfit. I said to my niece Amy, can you take a couple of photos of me? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I honestly thought this was going to be easy. I must post the photos actually in the show notes on the website. You know what? I was so horrified by them. I actually only kept one, and I'm so annoyed that I only kept one because they were truly, truly horrific. But never delete your shitty photos, guys. Okay, keep them because those are going to be your success story later on. I really wish that I had kept them, but anyway, I have one horrible shitty photo to show for it. So I stood up against the wall in the kitchen, right? Now, underneath the strip lights in the kitchen, we now have a beautiful kitchen with lovely spotlights, but at the time we had strip lights, okay? I didn't understand lighting. I was white, I was hairy, oh my God, honestly, it's just so funny when I look at the photos. So I stood up against the wall in the kitchen, and I said to Amy, take some photos, and I kind of like lifted my hair, like, you know, like I saw Emily Skye had done in the picture, and I was smiling at the camera, and Amy's standing there like snapping photos of me, and I'm thinking, you know, oh yeah, okay, so that, yeah, I think that looks fine. Oh yeah, I think that looks fine. Never taken photographs of myself before in this way. I used to do modeling when I was younger, so I kind of felt confident in front of a camera. But whenever you do modeling, it's very, very different to fitness modeling. In fitness modeling, you always push your hips back to elongate your stomach and elongate your legs. But in modeling, you tend to slouch with your hips forward. So because, you know, that's just the way the model stands. Whenever you see people in photographs, like they try to stand like a model, which is really kind of slouchy, but that you actually make yourself look horrendous in a photo when you stand with a slouch. The best thing that you can do if you're ever going to be standing in a photo is to push your hips back, suck your stomach in, lift your shoulders, and, you know, lift your front leg up on the point of your toe, but try to lift your hip up to elongate your hip. But again, I knew nothing about this because I'd never done any fitness modeling or posing or anything like that. So my niece took a couple of photos of me, and I remember then looking at them in the camera and thinking, oh, like, oh no, those look terrible. Do I really look like that? And I started flicking through the photos, and then I downloaded them onto my computer later on, and I looked at them and I was like, oh my God, do my tits actually look like that in that bra top? I always thought the bra top looked quite nice because, of course, whenever you're standing looking at yourself in the mirror, right, whenever you're dressed, you move your body in such a way, you suck in your stomach, and this is what human beings do. We move our bodies around until we like what we see in the mirror. We look at them from the best angle and we go, yeah, that's acceptable. But we don't realize that really isn't what we look like. That's just us presenting our best angle in the mirror. But that isn't what we look like. And I looked at these photos and I literally got the stark reality of what I actually looked like. Now, I'm not saying what I looked like was bad, But in my mind, I thought, I really did think that those photos that I took were going to resemble, just in some way, they were going to resemble Emily Skye's. I was that fucking delusional. I really did think they were going to resemble Emily Skye's. Just maybe not, like, maybe they might have needed a little polish or whatever, but I really thought that they were going to look half reasonable. And they looked absolutely and utterly horrendous. And I'm going to post one of them in the show notes on the website. So you can see how bad it was. And anyway, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I genuinely thought, one, I was in reasonable shape, which I was by all intents and purposes, but I was not in fitness model photo shoot shape by any means. And the vision that I had of myself was so far from reality. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. But now looking back, I realize it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it stopped me from living in my delusion in my head. And I had always wanted to be muscular. I'd always wanted to be in really good shape. But the two things that really sparked it was seeing Emily Skye, seeing her photos, and then taking my own photos and basically then measuring my own photos up against Emily Skye's. And I realized I had a long way to go. So, but anyway, I was still quite delusional, because let me tell you, see, whenever human beings are delusional, we don't actually realize the extent of our delusion or how far we will go to prove ourselves right. Okay? So what happened was, and I've only realized this now later on in life. In fact, I think I'm only realizing it now as I'm talking through this. I looked at those photos and I thought, well, yes, they're bad, but you know what? It's not all me. It's the lighting and the angle and the clothes and, you know, and I didn't have my hair and makeup done. So I can't really be blamed for how far they are from the vision I had in my head. So if I just book a professional photo shoot and I get a tan and I get my hair done and I get my makeup done and I buy some new, you know, workout clothes on Lululemon and stuff, and then I can make these photos look better. And so I did exactly that. I bought clothes. I bought some, you know, different workout clothes in Lululemon, and I booked a photo shoot with a professional photographer, and I got my hair done and I got a tan and I did all these things and I got some photos taken. And then I looked at the photos and I realized, Christ, they're still nothing like Emily Skye's. I mean, they were better. Don't get me wrong. They really were better. But I realized now the extent of my delusion as to how far I was from my goal. We always want to believe that we're closer to our goal than we are. And that is because in our minds, we don't want to recognize just how bad it is, because if we recognize just how bad it is, we're fearful that we'll be forced to change. And this is not cognitive, by the way. This isn't, you don't think this in your rational mind. You're not thinking, oh, I just want to keep my delusion and I don't want to get the data because if I, realize this, this isn't cognitive. But this is what goes on in people's minds. This is what's going on in your mind at the moment, I promise. If you have not achieved your health and fitness goals, or you haven't achieved the body goal that you've set out for yourself, or you allow yourself to fall off the wagon whenever you're on a program or in one of our shred competitions or whatever, and you make excuses that it's because of this or because of that or because of whatever, all you are doing is allowing yourself to keep your delusion. It's important to you to keep your delusion. Okay, and that's what it was with me. And the extent that I went to at that stage to keep my delusion was booking a professional photo shoot. And I looked at the professional photo shoot and I realized, holy crap, like, yes, they're better, but they are still so far from Emily Skye's photos that I saw, that I loved, that I want to look like, that it's not even funny. Like and it was getting the data it just came crashing down on me at the time. And I was like, God, this is where I am. This is actually where I am in my journey. I thought I was further along and I'm not. And so the point that I'm making with this is, in order to change, in order to move forward, you have to get the data. You have to get the data. You have to understand where you are now in relation to where you want to be. And just know that when you get the data, your brain will try to reposition where you actually are so that it's not that bad. Because we don't want to feel bad as humans. We want to feel good about ourselves, right? We're motivated to feel good. We're not motivated to feel bad. That's why even if in times of war or in times of really stressful situation, like the body can't survive in a state of fear for very long, right? Whenever we're fearful, the fear will normally pass in a few days. And how the fear passes in a few days is your mind justifies it and makes it okay in order for you to release and let go of the fear. They've seen this, they've done studies actually in war-torn countries where they are, there's like bombs being dropped and there's like missiles like going overhead and stuff. And in the very beginning, whenever the countries are first at war, everyone's fearful, everyone's upset, everyone's like, crying and and we even see this with war at the minute and around the world, it's all over the news. And then after a few days and everyone's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then after a few days, everyone just gets on with it and the fear goes away. And then, we saw this during COVID, like the government was constantly trying to make us fearful. The media was trying to make us fearful, and they would ignite a round of fear with a new strain of COVID or a new, something to be fearful of or new statistics about all the deaths, and everyone would be like, and everyone would be like fearful again for a few days. And then after a few days, everyone just went back to their normal life and this new way of living became normal and we stopped being fearful. And that's because the human body can't exist in a permanent state of fear or a permanent state of self-loathing or a permanent state of negativity. We can't. Our human body is wired for survival and our body wants us to feel joy and comfort. And so what it does is it justifies in our minds the bad thing that we see in front of us or the bad thing that is happening, and we reposition it and we reframe it and we justify it in order for us to go back to feeling safe and warm and secure, because that's what your body wants. So whenever you see that thing, whenever you see that body that you want, and then you look at yourself or you see yourself in a photo or you see yourself on vacation or you see yourself somewhere and you're like, oh my God, this is worse than I thought. Just know that within a few days or a few weeks at most, your body will completely reposition everything that you felt at that time to bring you back to a stage of comfort and hopefully joy, because I want everyone to be joyful in their lives. So you have to treat your body, right? If you want to achieve your get a shredded abs or get rid of your cellulite or just look like a fitness model like I wanted to look like, you have to find a way to keep reigniting your fear. Treat yourself like COVID, right? Treat your body like COVID and you like the government or the media. And you have to find ways to reignite your fear or reignite your motivation like every single week. You have to pull out those photos. You have to keep taking that. That's why it's one of the reasons why we recommend that people take progress photos all the time. You can't hide from the data, and understand whenever you're like, oh, I don't want to take those progress photos. That's your body going, no. We're nice and comfortable at the minute. We're not in a state of fear. There's no need to take those photos and remind yourself of how bad the situation is, because we don't like to feel that way. We want to feel good and comfortable and warm. Eat the cookie, Kim. The cookie will make you feel good. No, Kim, don't get out of bed in the morning. Don't go running and don't go to the gym and don't do all those things that are hard. Just stay here, stay comfortable, stay warm. It's nice, Kim. Why would you do all those awful, horrible things to yourself, Kim, when it's so lovely and warm over here? That's what your mind is trying to do, because your body and your mind are trying to keep you in a state of comfort, okay? And you're fighting against this constantly, but most people don't realize this. You have to make yourself uncomfortable every goddamn fucking day if you want to achieve anything great in life, because your body is not going to drive you to discomfort. Your body is going to constantly try to drag you back to comfort, like the friend who wants you to have that extra shot at the party, or the person who's constantly saying, no, don't do that. Come out with me tonight. Come out drinking tonight. And we all had that friend in college, whatever. I was actually that friend. I was like, no, come and take the drugs. Come and party with me. Come and do this thing with me, because I always wanted someone to be coming and having a good time, because to them that was a good time. And so that's what your body is like. Your body is constantly trying to get you out of a state of fear and into a state of comfort, and you're fighting against it every single day. And one of the ways to fight against it and to really put yourself in the driving seat is to get the goddamn data. Don't just get it once, right? Because if you get it once and you look at those photos, we've all done it. We've taken our progress photos, we've looked at those photos and we've gone, oh my God, that is horrendous. I look horrendous. I didn't realize that I felt this way. And we download the program when we start in the gym and we get ourselves going and we're so motivated. And then what happens? The motivation leaves. The motivation leaves. But let me tell you, the motivation doesn't leave, right? And it's not your fault. You are not undisciplined and lazy and fat and unworthy and all of those stories that you tell yourself about why you cannot show up for yourself. You're constantly fighting against your body, and you're constantly fighting against your mind. And it's because your body is wired for survival. Your body doesn't want to feel bad. Your body wants to feel good. And so you're constantly fighting against it. You want to stay in that permanent state of motivation because you felt so motivated when you looked at those shitty photos and you started in the gym and you went on the diet and you did those things that are good for you. You want to stay there, and you wonder why your motivation fails. Your motivation fails not because you're not disciplined. Yes, a lot of people are disciplined, but if you aren't disciplined, but if you find that you're not disciplined and you need to get that discipline back, you have to find a way to motivate yourself constantly. And one of the best ways to motivate yourself constantly is to constantly get the data. Take photos of yourself every day, and don't suck in your stomach and make your photos look really good and then edit them to put them on Instagram. Stand in a slouched position, stick your stomach out, squeeze your butt so your cellulite is visible. Make yourself look horrendous in the photos, and do it every single goddamn day if you have to. And you look at those photos, print them out, print them into poster size and put them on the wall, right? Put the most ugliest, shitty photo of yourself that you've ever taken in your life, like print it out in poster size in full color and full resolution, and stick it in your bedroom, stick it in your bathroom, and stick it in your kitchen. Let all your friends and family see it. People will be like, holy shit, why is that photo up there? You look horrendous. You're like, yep, don't I look horrendous? Thank you for the renewed sense of motivation you have just given me. I am not going to eat this piece of chocolate cake. So, it's amazing what we can do for ourselves. And if you truly, truly, truly want something, you will do this, let me tell you. Now, you don't need to maybe go so far as to printing it into poster size. That's just an idea that came to me just now, actually. And I think I might use that to motivate myself in future if I ever need to. And so that's what I did anyway. To go back to the original point that I was making, my delusion was so great that I seeing the photos of myself that my niece took still weren't as good, still didn't motivate me enough. I then went insofar as to book a photo shoot, and I was really disappointed with the photos. And again, the photographer didn't know how to do a fitness photo shoot, but now I found an amazing photographer who you've all heard me talk about him, Peter Bennett. In fact, loads of you fly over from England and come up from the south of Ireland to go and book a shoot with Peter, which I should actually ask for a commission from Peter. No, I'm joking. I adore Peter. He's really, really good. But my delusion was still holding on strong until I saw those photos. But I still didn't actually have the full concrete weight of reality crashing down on me until I would say about 3 months later. So this all happened in January. Booked my photo shoot in January, and still allowed myself to keep my vision of myself that really it wasn't that bad, and I didn't look that bad, I was closer to Emily Skye than I thought. Until one day in April, the sun was starting to come in through the windows. The weather was starting to warm up slightly. The chance to maybe put on a bikini was coming. We always have our nice spring weather here in Belfast in kind of April, May and June. And then literally July and August are supposed to be summer, but they're just a fucking washout. It just rains so much in July and August. And I was getting dressed one morning to teach yoga. I put on my sports bra and a thong. Loads of you have heard the story. And I had a bedroom, which was actually a little yoga studio upstairs in the house. I walked into my yoga studio and I went across to get something out of one of the drawers. And I had 3 big mirrors in the yoga studio, obviously to practice yoga in front of. And I turned around, the sun was streaming in. And of course I was thinking, I'm going to be wearing a bikini soon. So I turned around to examine my butt in the mirror. And that's when the full horror of the situation hit me. Because although my butt was small, yes, it was saggy like an old woman's. That's the only way I can describe it. I was 37 at the time. The skin had started to go slightly crepey. I had a few stretch marks on my butt, not big red ones, but I had, like lines, whatever, from, stretch marks on them. And I looked at my butt in the mirror, and I'd never liked it anyway. And it just looked sad and saggy like an old woman's. Now, I didn't look like a really old woman's, but my mind went and like fast forwarded to whenever I would maybe be like 70 or 80. And I don't even think 70 is old, by the way, anymore. But it's amazing how the different perspective you have as you get older. But I imagined being, say, 80 years of age, and I imagined that my butt in maybe even in 10 years, whenever I was 47, which I'm close to now, was going to look, I just imagined what it was going to look like in 10 years and 20 years. And I thought, if I'm 37, it looks like this now, it is going to get worse and worse and worse. And I had seen Emily Skye's gorgeous, big, round, peachy glutes. And I just kept looking at them thinking, oh my God, I would love a butt like that. I would love a butt like that. But of course, I kept telling myself that mine wasn't that bad. And, it was all right. And it was, I was keeping my delusion. But that day, as the sun was streaming in and it showed up the cellulite and the, stretch marks and the sagginess of my ass, and instead of ignoring the data and walking out of the room, I actually stood there and examined it from all angles. I turned to the side, I slouched, I squeezed my butt to see how much cellulite was there. I looked at I got another mirror so I could, hold it in front of me, and I could then look in the back mirror and see my butt from the very back, because you never really see yourself straight on from the back because you can't twist your head around that far. And I got as much data as I possibly could, and I realized that this was not who I wanted to be. This was not the butt that I wanted to have. So what I did was I went downstairs, I put on my yoga pants, and I went downstairs that instant, and I went into the computer and I downloaded the program that I had purchased from Emily Skye in January that I had never, ever done anything about. How many of you have purchased our shred programs and been so excited to purchase them? I thought, this is the time I'm going to change my body. This is the time it's all going to change for me. And then you do fuck all about it. Nothing. You get the excitement of downloading the program and thinking you're going to start. And that excitement is enough to carry you through the next 3 months, and you never actually start, but you keep telling yourself you're going to, but you never do. Well, that's what happened to me. This is why I understand you all so well, by the way, because I have been where you are now, except I actually took steps to change it. So what I did was I went downstairs, I downloaded the program. I said to my husband, I am going to start this program. I started reading it cover to cover. He was excited for me, so he printed out the program for me and put a lovely wee cover on it of a girl's really gorgeous butt. And I started in gym. I started in the gym the very next day. And that was the start of my fitness journey. And that is how I got to where I am today. It was seeing my butt in the mirror. But what I realized when I was planning the content for today was that it wasn't just that. I always thought it was seeing my butt in the mirror was the one thing that motivated me. But I realized today that it wasn't. It was a 3-step process. It was, first of all, seeing the pictures of what I wanted, seeing Emily Skye and knowing that I wanted to have a body like that. That was the first thing that motivated me. Then the second thing that motivated me was getting the photo. Well, actually 2 more things: doing the photos against the wall in the kitchen, and then seeing the reality of the situation against where I wanted to be. That was the second part. The third part then was doing the photo shoot, doing my best to make my current situation look better than it was. And that's what most of us do when we start a diet. We really, really try to make our current situation the best that it can be, because we really are just resistant to change. I was resistant to change. I didn't want to start the goddamn program and do all the effort and do everything that it took to look like Emily Skye. My next port of call was to try to make myself, my current situation, better than it was. And this is what we do, because we're just resistant to change. And that was the third part of it. And then the final part of it was when the cold water of reality came crashing down on me. And I realized that it was what it was. It was never going to be any different. My butt was not what I wanted it to be. And the only goddamn way that I was going to change it was to show up and do the flipping work. And you know what? See, when I started to do the work, that's when I realized, hey, I'm actually really good at this. And oh my God, I actually really enjoy this. And this is actually easier than I thought. And yeah, I can fit this in around the kids, or I can bring the kids with me, and I just starting in the gym and really just committing to that program and giving it my all and going at it with gusto was the thing that really, really ignited me. And then of course, once I started seeing fitness models everywhere. I started seeing gorgeous bodies everywhere. And then I decided I was going to do a bikini competition, and I contacted a trainer who's Laura Hutchinson, our head trainer's ex-husband, Curtis, and I'm still good friends with him. He trained bikini athletes, and I went to train with him, and then I booked a show, and then I was looking for a vegan program that I could follow because Curtis didn't know anything about training vegans. And I then realized that it didn't exist, and then I started to, create it myself. And then I bought a business program that taught me how to create, how to sell programs with webinars. And then I launched the Sculpted Vegan, and I made $1 million in my first year. And so all of that work, everything up until that point, all of that searching online and that pushing online, and then finding Emily Skye, and then, and just getting the cold hard data, and then starting in the gym, and then finding Curtis, and then booking the bikini show, and having that goal to work towards, and then looking for the program, and then boom, the idea came for Sculpted Vegan, and now we've made over $25 million. It's like incredible things happen when you just focus on something and you set your sights high, and you start putting energy towards what it is that you want. Like, amazing things happen whenever you really, really, really get the data, and then you focus on something and you go for it. But the most important thing is, I guess for me, or what I'm trying to really hit home is, it wasn't until I truly acknowledged who I was, where I was, and accepted what I didn't want, that everything opened up for me and everything started moving towards what I have now in terms of body, business, life, or whatever. I had to completely and utterly destroy my vision of myself and who I thought I was. And I had to go there in order to find the motivation to go after what it was that I really wanted. Because if you allow yourself to keep any part of your delusion, then, or allow yourself to stay comfortable, which is really what your body wants, you'll never get where you want to go. You'll never get where you want to go. Your goals require action. Like, downloading the program isn't enough. Having the want for it isn't enough. You have to take action. And to go back to what I told you I saw this morning when I was lying in bed, the graphic that came up, and it said, you have to decide what you want, work out the price you'll have to pay, and then decide if it's worth it. That's really what I did. I worked out what I wanted. I decided what I wanted. And then I looked at what I would have to do to have it, which was following the gym program, just going out there and getting it done. And I decided that it was worth it, and I went after it voraciously. So here are the 4 steps that you need just to round all this up. If you still find yourself jumping in and out of programs, falling on and off the wagon, like not really being able to motivate yourself, I hope that you understand a little bit better now about why you do what you do, and that it's really not your fault. But here are the 4 steps you need to take. You need to search for your spark. Search for your spark. Find the thing that is the thing that you want, that when you look at it fills you with excitement and motivation. Whether it's a picture, whether it's a goal of a bikini bodybuilding show, I don't give a shit if you're 68. If you want to stand on stage, you fucking stand on stage. Or at least work towards it, and then you can figure out when you get there if you still want it or not. Whatever that thing is that makes you go, yes, this would be worth it for me. If I had this, it would be worth the pain and the sacrifice and the struggle. This is something worth going for. Find that, okay? And then get the data. Where are you now in relation to your goal? Do whatever it takes. Take the photos, print out the poster size picture and stick it on your wall in the kitchen. Do whatever it takes for you to get the reality of the situation. And then work out your why not. Why are you keeping yourself comfortable? Why is your body trying to stop you from going after this? What are you trying to protect? Are you trying to protect your relationship? Are you trying to protect your comfort? Are you trying to not give up tortilla chips or pizza? Like, work out what it is that you're trying to protect. Maybe you're just trying to protect your vision of yourself. You just really, your self-esteem is low. Your mother used to tell you were fat as a child. You were in an abusive relationship, and you really just don't want to acknowledge, how bad the situation is. You don't want to make yourself feel any worse than you're feeling right now. Whatever it is, find out why you're choosing not to do it. And then if you still want it after you've worked this out, then go and get the damn data. Go and get the data, and then start the work. Start the work and just do it. Just start. Don't think about it 6 months from now, a year from now. Don't think about way down the line. Just start now. Because amazing things happen when you start. When you start to put energy into something, where your attention goes, energy flows. Put your attention into what you want, and know that you're going to have to remind yourself, i.e. re-motivate yourself every single goddamn week of why you want what you want, because your body will try to bring you back to comfort. Your body will try to bring you back to a place where you're not feeling bad about yourself, where you're not feeling fearful, where you're not feeling, all of these different things. But if you want to keep motivated, you have to keep feeling bad about yourself. You have to keep feeling fearful. You have to keep feeling the negative emotions, because it's the negative emotions for most people that are the driver. We're driven through fear. Give yourself a big fucking dose of fear. Don't be afraid of it. Right? I mean, I operate out of fear every day. I have a huge amount of worldwide staff that I have to pay their wages every single month. Let me tell you, that is a shitty, scary place to be. It motivates you to keep fucking working, keep coming up with ideas. Give yourself a deadline and give yourself a dose of fear. And if you do, I promise you will change your life. I just glanced at the clock and I was like, shit, it just went over an hour. It's like an hour and 10 seconds now. So I try not to go over an hour, because I know that you guys are sometimes doing an hour of cardio and you're listening to these, and it's crappy to, to keep going over whenever you have to finish and you don't want to finish. So I'm trying to squeeze it all in here, but I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please look out for everything that's coming up in the future. We just launched the Menopause Shred meal plans, 12 weeks of Menopause Shred meal plans. If you're looking for meal plans, you can pick those up on the website. We have the 5-day fitness and motivation challenge coming up, opens August 28th. Look out for that. We have the 4-week shredded body competition capped at 2,000 people coming up starting September 18th, but opening September 8th. So many exciting things coming up. And then in October, I think we are going to launch a program for the over 50s, a shred competition for the over 50s. We have so much coming up in the business. I'm so purposeful and ignited, and by the way, it was a big dose of fear that ignited me to really start focusing on the business again. So if you're interested in me sharing what it was that motivated me in a future podcast, I will. You know me, I open up, I share everything. So I'll share about that in a future podcast, maybe next week. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for constantly asking for this podcast back, which got me motivated to record again, because I forgot how much I love recording and how much I love teaching. So thank you for constantly pushing me to be better and to be more, because it's you guys that really do motivate me to keep going with what I do. And you keep inspiring me every single day with your struggles and your stories and how hard that you push. And I hope that I can give back to you by inspiring you to have more and be more and have more joy in your life and more purpose, because that's really honestly what it is all about. Okay, I love you all so much. I will talk to you next week on the Kim Constable Podcast. Thanks again for showing up and for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, sending you hugs and kisses. Bye for now.